Hello everyone, this is the Punisher Mythos. In this episode, we will continue the series that is focused on finding the most accurate Punisher when compared to the comics. As you can tell by the title, this is part 2 of the series and it features someone that is, judging from the comment section, a fan favorite. And that person is, you guessed it, Thomas Jane. For those that are disappointed that I didn't make this part about John Berthal, I got y'all for part 3. You can hold me to that. On a side note, for series like these, I would like to do a poll. However, I discovered that you need 1,000 subscribers to do that. I'm all about the people and delivering the topics you guys want, so I humbly ask for your support to get me there. Anyways, just like the first video, before delving into the meat and potatoes, I'm going to share the synopsis of The Punisher, which came out in 2004. This dark action film, based on the comic book series, follows FBI agent Frank Castle, Thomas Jane, as he transforms into the vengeful Punisher after criminals murder his family, including his wife and son. Castle is gravely injured in the attack and believed to be dead by Howard Saint, which is played by John Travolta, the crime lord who ordered the hit. Following his recovery, Castle becomes a heavily armed vigilante who will stop at nothing to exact revenge on Saint and dismantle his underworld empire. So, in this video, we will explore various elements to determine how accurate Thomas Jane's depiction of Punisher is. The criteria used for this is as follows: the looks or his physicality, his mentality and motivation, the showcasing of his military prowess, and lastly, his origin story. I will use a basic score system to determine the value of each category, and it will be from 1 to 10. When it comes to his looks and physicality, it was extremely difficult finding an exact comic depiction that closely resembles Thomas Jane. However, if I were to try and pick one, I would say that he looks like the Punisher in the War Journal era, which was a series that was published from 1988 to 1995. Thomas Jane's Punisher is 5'11", his eyes are hazel, his hairstyle seems to be a variation of the French crop, also known as a textured fringe cut, and his hair color is black. When compared to the comics, unfortunately, Thomas Jane really gets one thing correct, which is his hair color, which is black. Frank Castle in the comics is 6'1", his eye color is blue, his hair color is black, and Frank's hairstyles across the board are either slick back, straight and relaxed, hard side parting, and even a hairstyle known as the quiff. What saves Thomas Jane in this department is his physique. His physique is believable in that he can do whatever he needs to do to exact his punishment on crime with high dexterity. The score I would give Jane's Punisher on his look and physicality would be a 7 out of 10. When it comes to his mentality and motivation, it is shown differently in that in this movie, prior to becoming the Punisher, he was an outstanding FBI agent. This obviously means that he takes pleasure in being a serious impediment to criminals and their nefarious plans. FBI agents, although they have levels of engagements that somewhat keep them disciplined, aren't afraid to take it to the deadly force level, which it would be through use of firearms or through hand-to-hand combat. So with that being said, I do not think it would be a radical paradigm shift for Frank Castle when hunting criminals and bringing them to justice. The only thing that makes Frank a vigilante is that he no longer follows the rules of engagements when dealing with criminals. Thus, he preferably takes it to the deadly force level, well, unless he is interrogating someone. Now, his motivation is quite clear because this movie is an origin story, which means Frank and the audience had to experience his family being killed and even himself being fatally injured from the mob hit, being left for dead. He then is reintroduced to a shirt gifted from his son that is branded with the illustrious Punisher logo we know and love, and from there, we know that Howard Saint succeeded and that Frank Castle is dead, yet the Punisher is born. The score towards showing his mentality and motivation is an 8 out of 10. Now, his military prowess. What military prowess? Nah, just playing. However, if you don't pay attention, you might miss when they actually talk about his military experience. They hint at it a couple times in the movie, however, they explicitly state his military experience a couple of times. In this movie, he was in the 12th Special Ops Counterterrorism Group, which is kind of alarming because to my knowledge he has never been in this special ops group in any of the comics. It is appalling to me how Frank Castle mentioned training with the Navy SEALs when gathering back with his family after swimming with the sun, but in this file, the Navy SEALs were nowhere to be found. Jane's Punisher does uphold the reputation of the Punisher being a weapons master. He uses an array of semi-automatic and automatic weapons, shotguns, explosives, knives, crossbow, and a popsicle. Unfortunately, besides the knowledge and application of weapons in his arsenal, the movie didn't follow the comics at all. The section is a 2 out of 10. Now, the origin story. I would say that they really risked it all here. However, this depiction of the origin story was the most traumatizing. As you well know, in the comics, Frank as well as his wife and kids unfortunately witnessed a mob hit, which was the reason they were killed. However, in the movie, Frank Castle, being an undercover FBI agent, caused the death of Howard Saint's son during a botched drug deal. This led to not only Frank's wife and son getting killed, but his entire family were targets. I think the director of this film, Jonathan Hensley, strived to dramatize the origin story to drive the point home to the viewers that vengeance sometimes is the answer. Again, the origin story was dramatized and the director essentially rebooted the entire origin story. I will commend Hensley's bravery, however, when actually comparing it to the comics, I would give the origin story a 3 out of 10. Now, for the notable mentions, there were several which could help Thomas Jane's Punisher raise up a few points. The supporting characters besides Joan and Harry Heck look like their comic book counterparts, such as Spacky Dave and Mr. Bumpo. And how could I forget, they even brought the Russian into the mix. Another notable mention is that Thomas Jane's Punisher gives an ode directly to the comics by uttering one of Frank Castle's bone-chilling quotes from the War Journal series. The quote is Latin and it is "Sive pacem para bellum," which translates to, "If you want peace, prepare for war." The third notable mention can be found during Frank's encounter with Harry Heck. Once Frank leaves the diner, he proceeds to stop at the bridge. The camera then pans to his license plate and it says Year 1, which is an acknowledgement, also known as an Easter egg, pertaining to the set of comics that are focused on the events right after the mob hit on Frank and his family. One last ode which gives Thomas Jane a big boost in the final score is the fact that he reprised the role of the Punisher with the short film Dirty Laundry, which is awesome, dark, and gritty, which is something that all Punisher fans were thirsting for. It really gave off that Garth Ennis Punisher Volume 7 Max Series vibe. He has really shown that he loves the Punisher character so much so that he even wanted to do a sequel with Rob Zombie, which unfortunately got canceled. Also, he even did the voiceover for the Punisher game made in 2004, which is the best Punisher game ever made. If you haven't played it yet, you should, because for the time it was ambitious. It had elements that weren't seen in other games at the time, like the interrogation sequences. This game makes you feel like the Punisher, and lastly, hearing Thomas Jane narrate throughout the game is the icing on the cake.
Time to call it a night.
Moreover, just to reference Dirty Laundry again, this surprisingly may be an unpopular opinion. However, go walk with me. I feel that Thomas Jane planted the seed for the Netflix series with John Berthal, which is a series that most, if not all, Punisher fans love. When it comes to the flaws, I found quite a few in this movie, especially with the origin story. Since this is an origin story of the Punisher, he should be in Queens, New York. In the movie, the setting is Tampa, Florida, and the mob hit happened in Puerto Rico when it was supposed to happen in Central Park. Moreover, Frank had 2 children. The son was there, where was the daughter? Furthermore, the origin of the skull is way off because in the comics he got it from a Viet Cong sniper. With his military experience now, why wasn't his tenure in the Marine Corps, Australian Air Service Regiment, or Navy SEALs explicitly mentioned? This is odd because behind the scenes, Thomas Jane actually trained with some Navy SEALs to prepare for this movie. In conclusion, initially when I first saw this movie, I was conflicted because for many fans such as myself, this was the first Punisher depiction which made us into big fans of the character. It was after watching the movie and playing the game that made me delve deeper into Frank Castle's background. Overall, it was a good movie and they tried their best for the time, hence they used alternate methods such as Easter eggs to show the love for Punisher, which wasn't until recently a highly favored character in the Marvel Universe. With origin stories, one has to understand that there is brilliance in the basics. So the overall score for Thomas Jane's Punisher is a 6 out of 10. Thank you guys for listening. Don't forget to share, comment, subscribe, and most importantly, don't forget to punish that like button. I'm out.